Today we're going to be talking about conditional statements. Our objectives: we will be able to identify the conditional, converse, inverse, and contrapositive of a conditional statement and write them in symbolic form. We'll be able to use the law of contrapositive to determine the truth value of a statement. So, a conditional statement is a logical statement that has two parts: a hypothesis and a conclusion. All conditional statements can be written in an if-then form. We're going to use symbolic notation a lot, and the reason we do this is to simplify what we're writing. Our symbols will be used in alphabetical order. Typically, we use P, then Q for our if-then statement. P is the hypothesis, and Q is the conclusion. So let's look at some examples. Identify the hypothesis or premise and conclusion of the statement. If the weather is warm, then we should go swimming. The part that comes after the if, the weather is warm, would be our hypothesis. The part that comes after the then, we should go swimming, would be our conclusion. Next, we want to rewrite the statement as a conditional statement in if-then form. Our statement is, geometry students always pass the SOL. So the first part talks about geometry students. So that would be our hypothesis. So if a student takes geometry, then what do we know about geometry students? They will pass the SOL. Converse is what we can do with a conditional statement. It switches the order. So our original was P then Q. We're going to do Q then P when it asks for the converse. When you hear converse, you think of the sneakers. Sneakers help you move, switching or moving things around in the statement. So translate the statement into symbolic form, then write the converse for the conditional statement. So if you play on the tennis team, then you like tennis. Let's start with our hypothesis, which we'll just use A, and make our conclusion B. So our symbolic notation would be A, then B. Our converse would have to be B, then A. When we're writing the converse, the if and the then don't switch places. So we'll still have if. We said that B is going to come first, so if you like tennis, comma, then our A part's going to come second, you play on the tennis team. Negation. Negation means the opposite. You will either be putting in or take out the not part of the sentence. Symbolically, it would be a squiggle and then whatever our statement is. So if we wanted to negate these statements, the original is you like to dance. The negation would be you don't like to dance. If you don't like spinach, the negation would be you do eat spinach. Our next type of statement is called the inverse. We negate both the hypothesis and the conclusion. So symbolically, we would do not P, then not Q. So again, we're going to translate into symbolic form and then write the inverse. So if it is 6 p.m., then it is dinner time. If it is 6 p.m. comes first, so I'm going to use letter C this time, then it is dinner time for dinner. That comes after our then, so that's our, I'm going to label that letter D. So for conditional, it would be C, then D. Inverse would then be not C, then not D. So if it is not 6 p.m., then it is not time for dinner. And our final type of statement is a contrapositive. In this one, we are going to switch and negate. It's the longest word, you have to do the most work. Symbolically, it would be not Q, then not P. And the law of contrapositive says that the contrapositive is equivalent to the conditional. And we'll get into what equivalent means in just a little bit. So, if you live in Sterling, I'm going to make this the letter E, and then you were in Virginia, I'm going to make that the letter F. So this is E, then F. The contrapositive would then be not F, then not E. So if you were not in Virginia, then you did not visit Sterling.